club after fans spotted a spelling mistake on an advertising board during a game this week. A pitch-side advertising hoarding referred to a website called maritusnow.com. BBC News.
Hello, this is Nuala McGovern. Welcome to OS on the BBC World Service. We were putting together Wednesday's conversation about food banks in the US, and we came across a man called Omar. He is living in a motel in Florida with his family. He has lost his job as a result of the pandemic, and we wanted to give some time for him to tell his story. So we're going to play the conversation we had in about 10 minutes' time. And we're also going to take some time to look at what Omar's story tells us about the issue of homelessness across the United States. That is coming up this half hour. But I want to turn to Nigeria. Perhaps you're hearing a little of this in the bulletin as well, for an update on the Nigerian school children who were kidnapped from their school in northwestern Katsina State. Earlier, the BBC's Chris Iwaka spoke to me. He was speaking to me from our Abuja bureau, and he told me about the video that has emerged, which allegedly shows some of the boys who were taken.
This video first is actually quite distressing to watch. The video was posted on the news website of a Nigerian journalist who's been known to have links with Boko Haram, Ahmad Sakida. And then in the video, we see one boy in front of other crowd of boys, many of them very young, pleading, sometimes speaking in English and sometimes also speaking in Hausa, the native language there. And the message is that the government of Nigeria should close down all schools and only allow Islamic schools to run in the area, as well as send away the soldiers, the security forces that have been mobilized or deployed. What the boy said specifically is that there's nothing the government could do to them, and them in this case means the Boko Haram. Of course, we know that after the boys were abducted, after the raid on their school, the government science secondary school in Kankara, Katsina State, there was a twist when Boko Haram leader Abubakar Shekau, who was known to have been very active in the northeast, claimed that they carried out the abduction of the children. It sort of indicated in a way that, well, the group which has waged bloody insurgency for over a decade has now shifted influence of its activities from the northeast towards the northwest. And this is quite disconcerting, not just for the government, but for many Nigerians.
And so with this video, Chris, and it is disturbing, as you say, when you see these boys, have any of them been identified? Do we definitely know these are the boys that were kidnapped?
Well, at the moment, the video came up on social media, and it's not clear yet if many of the parents have seen this video. Remember that Kankara is a predominantly rural area, but we expect that in a short while, we will expect that parents will be able to get to see some of the video and be able to identify the children. The boys, when you look at them, the one that was speaking in the foreground looked a little bit bigger, but then the crowds of dozens of others that were surrounding him at the background, most of them, you see some of them very young, possibly looking like children of age 10. And of course, what we get to understand is that in that government science secondary school, we have children who started just this year when the coronavirus lockdown was eased. Some of them could be as young as 10, and then the oldest maybe around 15, 16 or thereabout. And they look very distraught. But according to them, the help should not come from the military, and the government should rather help them any other way.
I want to bring, Chris, some of the sounds. These are protesters marching earlier against Boko Haram and demanding that the boys be returned. Let's listen. Bring back our voice! Bring back our voice! Bring back our voice! So there we have Bring Back Our Boys. Very sad to hear that is a chant after we had Bring Back Our Girls, when the girls, the Chibok girls, were kidnapped. But the national coordinator of the Coalition of Northern Groups, a body that promotes the welfare of northern Nigerians, Bala Rabe Ruffin, told a news conference that lawlessness had taken hold in the country.
Nigeria has today been abandoned at the mercy of vicious insurgents, bandits, kidnappers, armed robbers, rapists, and assortment of hardened criminals who roam about and operate with ease. Sensing a huge vacuum in the political will and capacity of government to challenge them.
So, talking there about lawlessness, what are other politicians saying, Chris?
At the moment, let's start with the president and the governor of Katsina State, where the incident took place. Remember, President Muhammadu Buhari had been in Katsina. In fact, he was there when the incident happened, and the governor had come out to say that the gunmen contacted them and they are in discussion. We know that a lot of, not just discussion, a lot of back and forth trade transaction for ransom do take place. This is not the first time that a group that abduct massive number of people like this would engage in a form of dialogue or discussion. To see what could be done in, for instance, in exchange to get some of the people, or probably for ransom of money. We're expecting that the governor will very soon brief the press to give an update of how far they've gone with the discussion with a group of gunmen. But beyond that, again,